Moving on now, because ministers are drawing up plans to allow foreign students to work longer hours in order to fill labour shortages in the hospitality and retail sectors. Now, the Prime Minister is looking to grow the economy by filling 1.3 million empty posts with students. There's nearly 700,000 overseas pupils in the UK. At the moment, they are limited to working a maximum of 20 hours per week, but increasing or removing this cap entirely could solve the problem, they say. This could put Rishi Sunak on a collision course, crucially, and this is, I suppose, the juicy bit, with Suella Braverman, who said that she's sceptical of these plans. In fact, as far as we can tell anyway, she wants pretty much the exact opposite to happen. That's because they'd make visas more attractive and could increase immigration. That's net, as well as, of course, in the other side of things there, illegal. Joining me now is political commentator and student Reem Ibrahim and chairman of Migration Watch UK, Mehmet. Thank you very much, both of you. Great to have you both on the show. Reem, I will start with you. Can we not be any more creative than looking to fill any gap in our economy with the one answer, the only solution that there possibly is? Oh, we need more immigration.
Look, I think that at the moment we've got about 5.4 million people on out-of-work benefits. So clearly there is an issue with British people not working and they're sort of retaining on benefits. But actually I think that there is no incentive. We need to reform the benefit system in order for those people, those hard-working British people, to get back into work. I think, look, students have enough on their plates where they're looking at lectures and classes and seminars and whatever it is they have to do as students. That, I think we can be a bit more creative and actually get British people working rather than trying to fill it up with foreign students.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, they'll be busy supporting their dependents, as indeed we're constantly told that a lot of these students do. The idea that I will be supporting anyone, I could barely support myself when I was at university, in more ways than one, all too often, actually. Alp, I'll bring you back into it now. This just seems to be in direct opposition to what the Home Secretary wants to do. I can smell blood in the water here.
I've got one word for it. Daft. That's what it is. Frankly, I find it difficult to understand what's behind it, unless it's the usual Treasury nonsense of wanting to grow the economy. Well, if what we're lacking is foreign students to be working full-time rather than part-time, which they all are anyway, if that is what we're lacking to get the economy up and running again, heaven help us. And let's not forget, as you mentioned, there are 680,000 students here now, all of whom, I dare say, are working in some hours at least. And on top of that, there are postgraduate students who actually bring their dependents here to work with them. I think it's a shambolic nonsense, really. And I do hope that the government thinks carefully before allowing students to work full-time. Are they here to study or are they here to work? That's my question.
Alp, I'll just stick with you before I throw it back to Reem. Alp, would it actually grow our economy to have more foreign students able to work for longer in the UK?
Well, it may do. If you've got, I don't know, if you've got 600,000 people working an additional 10 hours a week, it will be a minuscule growth in the economy, in GDP. But what it doesn't do is actually grow the cake. It grows the cake. It doesn't grow the cake so that you and I and Reem get a slightly bigger slice. That's the problem, that we are desperate, and the Treasury is desperate to grow the economy with immigration, but in fact what they're doing in the long term is adding to what is dragging the economy down.
OK, and Reem, you are a student. We've spoken a couple of times about your student experience in this country so far. Do you think that your student experience would be massively improved by virtue of having several more people from your seminar room? Looks like the UN, does it?
I've got to say, I go to the LSE, so my seminar room already does look like the UN. Various sort of kids of ambassadors from across the world. So my university is pretty much, I think, 80% foreign students already. So my university is a pretty high proportion anyway. I think when we're looking at the sort of grand scheme of things within the economy, we do need to fill these vacancies vacancies somehow. I don't think that the answer is going to be with students. The benefit of using students is that they're usually temporary, so you have to leave after those 2 years, although Suella Braverman wants to reduce it to that 6 months.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. Alp, I'll throw it back to you. Is it usually temporary? Because Suella Braverman appears to think it's a backdoor into Britain.
Well, I'm not sure that it is so temporary, actually. Already, students can stay on for 2 years after they've completed their studies. And the last figures that I saw in the academic year 2018-19, in fact, only 60% of those completing their studies left that year. So when we're talking about 40,000 or 40% rather of people staying on out of 600,000-700,000, that's a hell of a lot of people who will need houses, who will need GPs, who will need schools, all sorts of things.
Well, exactly, and that's the other quantifiable cost, isn't it, which is the effect that it would have on wider public services. And one of the things that I keep hearing whenever I do go on the odd weekend away in Britain, I go to the Lake District very often, for example, people there are saying, well, one of the reasons why we can't employ more people in our hospitality sector is because there's nowhere for them to live. So it's all very well and good having people coming over and wanting to be in the lower end of the economic spectrum. If there's nowhere for them to live, then you can't hire them to begin with. But, Reem, aren't we being a bit gaslit by our government here? On the one hand, we've got Rishi Sunak saying, I want to lower immigration and I want to stop the small boats and I want to get to grips with the illegal immigration situation and all of this. And at the same time, he's saying more foreign students. Well, nothing could go wrong there.
Well, I think they're trying to fill the vacancies. I think there's nothing wrong with that. But the issue is that we are sort of being sidelined here, because the idea that these foreign students sort of come over and it's only for those 2 years, these are supposed to be short-term visas. The idea is that they're supposed to fill in these vacancies in the short term. Well, then what's the answer for the long term? And then, when it comes to housing, all of these different issues, when it comes to infrastructure, public services, nothing is working in Britain. We need these people to have a place for them to live. And that is a direct issue with government policy.
It smacks of sticking plaster politics, doesn't it? Alp, you're raising your hand. But go on, one last one quickly, Alp.
Well, very quickly, the fact is that they are already working here. What this is about is big business wanting cheaper labour.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
We're not talking about plugging skills here. They want people to make our coffee, to pull our pint, and generally to work all hours in the service sector.
OK, both of you, thank you very much. There's nothing wrong with cheap labour, but if it's driving down the wages for everybody... Anyway,
yes,
right, there we go.
there is.
Oh,
exactly.
right, OK. OK. Oh, well, gosh, I got the seal of approval from Alp Mehmet there. Look, both of you, thank you very much. I've got to go. Thank you very much. Alp Mehmet there of Migration Watch, Reem, Ibrahim. Thank you very, very much as well.